Okay, we are live.
Good evening, Somers. This is Supervisor Rick Morrissey, and welcome to the Somerstown Board work session of Thursday, October 1st. And I'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated. Okay, Patty, do we do roll call? No. Okay, so all our town board is here. You cannot see them all, but we're here. Our first item of business this evening would be to open public comment. So I'll make a motion to open public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, so as we've done in the past, here's the information on how to get on to Zoom or YouTube and make comments. We have emails and text and telephone that you can call in. So we'll leave the public comment open. Patty, do you have any? You have somebody for public comment? You muted.
I'm sorry, no, I have nobody at this time.
Okay. Paul?
Nope, nobody on my side either.
Okay. All right, we're gonna.
Well, hold on. Hold on. Is there actually, Paul? Can you go back to the regular screen
Yep, I apologize. Sorry.
just for a minute? Because I want to see. We have. I thought I saw Don Satani on there. I figured he might have some sort of a comment.
He was on there, yeah.
He's still here.
He
He's
was
still
on.
there. Why
That's
else is he
correct.
gone?
I
All
am.
right,
I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
There he is.
Is that Don?
This is Donato Satani, his son.
Oh, okay. Hey, Donato, how are you? Did
Good,
you have
how
a
are
public comment?
Not at this time. I think there's a section of the meeting that I'm interested in. I'll comment at that time.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, so the first, once again, we'll keep public comment open as people call in. We'll address their comments. I'm going to give the town a COVID update. The virus is still out there, raging through the country, the state. Westchester County is doing pretty well. However, in Somers, we had an uptick a couple of weeks ago, 17 new cases during a week span. And I got back to the health department and it was determined that the age group for these new cases was between 17 and 19. And many of them were college kids that were tested as they went to college and came up positive. So many of them were sent home. Other students that have test positive, a lot of them are being isolated on campus. But as of today, we have, since the pandemic began, we have 457 positive COVID cases in the town of Somers since the beginning to today. We have currently 14 active cases in the community and just one new case today. And as I look at the 14 cases, there's a couple of households that are involved where 4 members in the household all tested positive. There's no rhyme nor reason as far as any kind of clusters. You can't draw any conclusion that it's a community outbreak, which is a good thing. And so the message that I continue to promulgate and get out there is be smart, use common sense. If you're in public, wear a mask, wash your hands, certainly, and be respectful when you go into stores. employees in stores and operators of businesses should all be wearing masks as well. And this is about, protecting the public. So that's it for the COVID update. Is Dan on? Dan Welsh, do we have you on there, or Jasmine? Are you gonna?
Jasmine here, yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
doing the presentation tonight.
All
Yeah,
right,
Dan's not
Jasmine.
making it.
Okay, so
Did you lock him in his room there, Rich?
No,
He's
he wanted
running
no
around.
part to do with you.
Yeah, right.
okay, so number 2 on the agenda is a Westchester PowerPoint presentation regarding the results of an RFP bidding process by Westchester Power. And this has to do with our community choice aggregation program. So Jasmine, I understand you're going to be doing the presentation. Go ahead.
Yep, and it's gonna be pretty brief. So again,
Sure.
I'm Jasmine Graham. I'm here from Westchester Power. And yeah, we're gonna give you the results of the most recent bid. So just a little refresher, we've got 27 municipalities in this community energy program, 24 on the green supply, and that makes up about 115,000 residents. In NYSEG territory, there are 5 municipalities, obviously Somers included. And so basically, the exciting part about this bid is that we use this reverse bidding process. So each of, where's my cursor? There we go. Each of these little dots that you see are separate bids. And as you can see, the suppliers continued to undercut each other. The winning supplier was Aligo Energy. And so you may remember that right now the supplier is Direct Energy, but beginning on people's first meter read date after November 30th, they'll begin to see Aligo Energy on their bill. So the standard supply, which Somers is in, is 6.719 cents per kilowatt hour. And then on the green supply, it's 7.190 cents. And again, Aligo Energy won that bid. So the exciting part, our price not to exceed was 7.2 cents. The green came just under that, but the standard was significantly under that price target. And so beginning tomorrow, we'll be sending out a notification letter to residents. So they'll again receive information on the program. This is what the outside of the envelope looks like. Our goal is to make it something that people want to open. So we've got our Sustainable Westchester logo on it. It says information regarding Somers Community Choice Aggregation Program, as well as the town seal. And then there's going to be a 30-day opt-out period, just as before. We're giving a little bit of extra time for the mailing because of the postal delays that we've seen. And so just as before, residents have a 30-day period to decide if they'd like to be in the program. They have the ability to opt out within that 30 days and never be enrolled, or they can opt out at any point thereafter with no fees or penalties. And so as I said before, after November 30th, so beginning December 1st, enrollment begins for those who did not choose to opt out. And so this new contract is also going to be 12 months. So it'll just take us from December 1st, 2020 to December 1st, 2021. And as I mentioned, people have the ability to opt out at any time. In the notification letter, there will be a postcard, and it's already postmarked for people. And so they can fill out the information, sign and send it back. You can also give our office a call, 914-242-4725. We can help you to either opt out or switch your supply option if anyone wants to opt up to the green supply and support renewable energy. And then you can go online. In the past, we would direct people to westchesterpower.org, but now you can go to sustainablewestchester.org/WP for Westchester Power. And until then, we will continue our outreach and education. Obviously, we're still doing everything pretty much virtually. We're happy to hold any kind of community education sessions. We also have social media accounts. We've got Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I think the most exciting thing is that we now have a YouTube channel, Sustainable Westchester Media, and you can go on there and we actually have informational videos about the Westchester Power program. So we have a program overview, frequently asked questions, as well as how to read your NYSEG bill. So if anyone does have more questions or just wants to learn more about the CCA, I know I've come in front of you all quite a few times, but people can always go to YouTube and get that information.
So Jasmine, yeah, I have a question. You mentioned people can opt out without a penalty. But then is there ever a penalty?
No, never a penalty. The reason why we mention that is because sometimes when someone signs up with an individual energy supply company, there'll be some kind of termination fee or cancellation fee. So there's never any type of fee for leaving the program. You can leave the program, you can join again, you could leave, you can join. There's no fees ever associated with it.
So
Right,
Jasmine,
You can switch from standard to green or from green to standard.
Yep.
That's an individual choice. Okay.
Yes.
so Jasmine, well done. I guess a follow-up on Rick's question. One, can you switch more than once?
Yes. You can switch as many times as you'd like. I'll stop sharing so we can all see each other. But you can switch back and forth as many times as you like. The standard supply is, slightly a lower price than the green supply. And so we've had people in the past change to the standard supply to save a few dollars. I've actually had someone call, they got laid off. They switched down to the standard supply and I happened to take their call about 6 months later when they opted back up to the green. So you can switch your supply option as many times as you want. The only thing is if you're trying to leave the program or switch your supply option, it'll take between 1 and 2 billing cycles to be reflected just because of the meter read dates. You're always kind of in the middle of your billing cycle.
So Jasmine, in this situation, I mean, in the last time we went through this, when we changed suppliers, our individual customers had to redo their budget.
Oh, the budget billing?
Yeah, so we have to sort of tell our, our constituents that they're going to have to go in, contact this new provider and set up a new budget.
Yeah, and we'd be happy to hold some kind of information session for people on budget billing. But that is something that I'll be sure that we make the supplier aware of. And I think it'll be good for us to try to get a plan in place beforehand. So I haven't been too involved in the budget billing, but I'll speak with Dan about how we can make that an effortless process for.
I think we have to notify the client, our customers though, because when we make the transition and they go off budget and,
Right.
people get disoriented.
Yeah, I'll definitely work on that. And I can send you guys a memo on what our, options are for that.
Now, one other follow-up question. In the past, if you had a standard and discount sort of billing format, that's excluded from this.
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
Standard rate, when you have time of day billing.
Right. Yeah. So
that's out of this program.
Yeah, no day-night customers or time of use customers will be enrolled, and nobody who has previously opted out. So if you decided you wanted to leave the program in the past, you won't even receive this notification letter. They have the ability to opt in on their own, but they won't be enrolled automatically like everyone else.
Okay.
If you're in the green or the renewable option, the green option now, do you automatically go into the green option with the new provider?
Yes. If you've already switched to the green option, you'll actually receive a different letter that says the town of Somers has chosen the standard supply as the default, but you have previously opted up to the green supply, and that is the supply that you'll be enrolled in unless you let us know.
Okay.
Do you know how many in Somers have opted for that green supply?
I don't know the exact number offhand, but generally it's less than 1% of people actually take the time to switch. However, moving into this new contract, yesterday we actually just had our Con Ed bid. And so Greenberg, which is one of the 3 towns that was in the standard supply, actually just switched to green. So now it's Somers and Mount Kisco in the standard supply. So we're thinking about having an opt-up campaign, you know, where we get out to people and explain to them that they do have this renewable energy option. Because most people, you know, the point of the program is to make participation easy. And so people don't necessarily take the time to opt up. But yeah, we'd be happy to also get out there and let people know that opting up is an option for them.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think most people don't even think about it. You know, I support that, as everyone knows. These prices, though, these prices are slightly higher than the last supplier, right?
Yes.
By a couple of tenths of a cent per kilowatt hour.
Yeah, on the standard side, it's only about a tenth of a cent. It went
Yeah.
up from 6.61 to 6.7, as I just
Right.
told you all. But then on the renewable side, the delta is actually larger. So that went up from 6.93 to 7.19, which is still only about 0.2 of a cent. But that's because the price of New York State renewables has gone up pretty significantly since the last contract. But on the standard supply, it's
I would have thought they would go down as it becomes more widely used. No,
you would think
it just kind of surprises me. Yeah.
Yeah, the price has gone up. NYSERDA is actually there's a lot of competition now. So New York State hydropower is great because it's abundant, but our CCA was the pilot, and now there's several other CCAs. So we're all kind of competing for these same tier 2 RECs. And then New York State is trying to increase the amount of tier 1 RECs which are bought. And those are for new projects that are just being built. But unlike hydropower RECs, which are about 1/4 of a cent, or they used to be 1/4 of a cent, now they're up to 3/4 of a cent. Tier 1 RECs are about 2 cents per kilowatt hour. So they're very expensive, but they're trying to push people in the direction of the RECs that are supporting the building of new renewables.
So it would just seem, correct me if I'm wrong, that the demand is greater than the supply slightly now, which pushes the price up for any commodity, including production of green electricity.
Absolutely, yeah.
Would I be correct?
Yeah. But one of the good things that we did do is in the contract, we did write in language because NYSERDA is looking at a possible subsidy for RECs for CCAs, because CCAs purchase such a large amount of RECs. And so there's actually language in our contract which accounts for that and says if NYSERDA does issue some kind of subsidy for RECs for CCAs, that will get passed back to the customer. And so we would actually, the rate would lower if a subsidy like that was put into place.
Do you know, does the number of people in Somers in the CCA, has it, because we've been in this now for a fair number of years, has the number been consistent, or has it gone up, or has it gone down during that time? Do you happen to know?
It's gone down because we've removed all of the day, night, and time of use accounts. So that was actually
right. That was a big deal. Yes.
Otherwise, it stays pretty level. So pretty much on a quarterly basis, we do what we call a quarterly refresh. But essentially, we send out a notification letter to anyone who's newly eligible. So anyone who's recently moved into the town, or got off of their previous ESCO contract and now they're with the utility. On a quarterly basis, we allow those people to be opted in. Yeah, so we actually, when we used to look at the opt-outs, I'd say, oh gosh, so many people opt out. But then you look at it and most of the opt-outs are actually just people who moved, whether it's from an apartment, on one side of town to the other, or moved out of the town and someone else moved in. So you actually see this kind of curve where it's like, okay, there's some opt-outs, and then the quarterly refresh brings it exactly where it was.
I see.
So you kind of just get the same level number over the life.
So Jasmine,
and just the last thing, if people go into that solar that we've been talking about, that doesn't affect this whatsoever, right?
Nope. You can have community solar and be in the program, which is actually, if it's an environmental benefit, right? Because you can be supporting 2 renewable energy programs at once.
And you save money.
Community solar is a guaranteed 10% discount. And beginning next year, when the utilities introduce consolidated billing, we're actually going to be able to enroll people into the opt-out community solar. So people, just like Westchester Power, you can be, auto-enrolled into this guaranteed savings product. And we want to offer that to low-income individuals first.
Oh,
Jasmine,
Thank you.
can I ask you the current NYSEG rates for power? If we're 670 for standard and 719 for renewable, what would be the current NYSEG rate you'd pay if you weren't in the program? Do you know what that is?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. We've seen on both the Con Ed and the NYSEG side the utility rate dropping, not as significantly in NYSEG territory as Con Ed. We've seen Con Ed rates go down to the 5-cent range, but in NYSEG it hasn't been that significant. I've seen 6-cent range. I can look into that and get you some information.
I mean, I think generally the spot rate's been lower, but it's very volatile. People, it can move from 5 cents to 8 cents in 1 month, depending on the season. So, people need to kind of move. You need to have a budget really to sort of, figure that out. But,
yeah, one of the reasons why we always want to stick with the fixed rate is for, the stability. On any given month, Con Ed could be low, or sorry, NYSEG could be lower or higher. But at the very least, what you're going to pay. And I always say this, like when I joined Westchester Power, I was fresh out of college. I had never paid an electricity bill. And when my grandpa, first when my boss told me that you pay whatever, the bill says, I was like, what do you mean? Like, you don't know what you're going to pay before you get the bill?
yeah, that's funny.
No. And I'm like, if it was anything else, I would not subscribe to that. I wouldn't let that be a thing. So, I think that stability is something that at least I value, because I know I use generally the same amount of kilowatt hours per month. So with a steady price, I know that my bill is going to be pretty much the same. There's a little bit of fluctuation on the delivery side, but in NYSEG territory, the delivery prices aren't nearly as outrageous as Con Ed territory.
But that's a good segue into the YouTube about explaining the NYSEG bill.
Yes. Yeah. Another plug for Sustainable Westchester Media on YouTube. We've got some good voiceovers. Dan does one of the voiceovers. Jenna does another one. So they really are great videos if you are interested.
All right, great.
So Jasmine, I want to thank you for your presentation. And I just want to mention when the CCA was first initiated in the town of Somers, I don't know if we were unanimous, but the board felt that we would move people into the standard rate and give them the option, because if we went to the green, that's more expensive. We're spending their money for them. So I just wanted to kind of mention that as people join, they have that ability. Standard rate, which is, little tenths of a cent less than the green. But once again, thank you, and give our regards to Dan.
Well done.
Thank you so much for having me. I really
Thank you, Jasmine.
Pleasure.
All right, Jasmine, good.
Okay.
Have a good night.
So next up on our agenda is our chairman of the Somers Energy Environment, Don Bleasdale, is going to give us an update. Don.
Hello, everybody. So this is a good segue from Jasmine. We did a couple of community solar webinars a couple weeks ago, and we did a noon one and an evening one, and we had I think 16 or 17 on each call, so that it's about 30 people that actually tuned in and listened. As of 8:30 or the end of August, Nina Orville told me we had 80 people signing up for community solar, which she said was really quite good. And I think that was before the webinar. So I'm guessing we're going to be over 100 and something, which I think is a really, and she said from other campaigns they've done, that's a really good number. So far, so good. It's off to a good start.
So Don, this is the program where when they sign up, they get some sort of a discount, right? Something for like
Basically,
up to
right.
$10 a bill or something like that.
Yeah, you're sort of guaranteed to get a 10% discount. It's a fairly straightforward sign up. If you didn't like solar, if you were anti-solar, you could still save 10% if you signed up. And similarly to the CCA, you can opt out anytime. There's no compulsion to it. So it's kind of, and what you are doing in the big picture is you're supporting the development of renewable energy in New York State, because you're actually getting a share in a given, actually tells you what solar field or solar system that you're going to be getting a share in.
Yep. I mean, I don't really think anybody's anti-solar. I think we're providing a whole bunch of choices, right?
Right. Now I'm sort of being half facetious, it's just, yeah, so that's a good number. And I think so far, and I think the next number will be probably similar. So, and she said compared to other municipalities, that's a really good start.
That's great work.
So we, the other thing we're doing with Sustainable Westchester, as a committee, we talked about trying to do sort of a couple of times a year or possibly quarterly, doing some kind of webinars on a given issue, and sort of making, building like a little library of stuff that people could look at. And for October, what we're going to put together is a winterization webinar, which kind of goes over some of the energy efficiency stuff, the Energize campaign, which is actually being rebranded as something else, I think. We're going to have a speaker come on. We'll probably have someone from Sustainable Westchester come on. And just to give some people, homeowners, some ideas on simple things you could do to winterize your home. Not the bigger ticket items, but basically I'm sure it's going to deal with caulking and weather stripping and the low-hanging fruit that helps you lower your electric bill and not waste energy. So we're planning on doing that in, I think, late October. And the idea is to every couple months do another one. You can do on something else, a different topic. So that's a good thing. And in light of COVID, when everybody is Zooming and doing all these virtual meetings, we're going to try to capitalize on that and create virtual content that people could actually access if they couldn't get on the actual meeting at the time. And one other thing, which this is more directly affected by COVID, is Flo Broadley, who's one of our members, has gone to repair cafes, which apparently are, I don't know a ton of them, but apparently you sort of enlist certain fix-it kind of people, and you would go to, and this is going to happen right now, obviously, because we're in COVID times, but where you actually would, someone who's a tinkerer and you have things in your house like clocks or something else, and you actually go there and there are people there who've been asked to come and with their skills fix something. So you're trying to repurpose something of value that isn't working, and it could be clothes, it could be some kind of electronic thing, but we're exploring how to do that. And obviously that won't probably really happen until we get through the COVID times and we can begin to gather in some way, shape, or form in a safe way. One other, we're also trying to, for maybe next year, trying to come up with something where we could like blazing your way through Somers trails, basically trying to highlight the trail system in Somers and let people know who may not know what the trails are. Rick Warren is going to try to spearhead that because he's been more involved with all the trail systems and the linkages between the county trailways and what's in Somers. And then the other main thing is I'm still trying to put together, I'm going to do like a little PowerPoint, probably if not next month, maybe the month after, on the building code, which is New York State has this thing called stretch. I think it's called stretch code. So I'm just going to propose to you and something based on what's been done in a couple other municipalities. Hastings-on-Hudson is one in particular, about basically trying to upgrade the code a little bit. And I actually met with the Boniellos in their Somers Crossing development, and what they're doing there, and I even think probably Ken Carney too, they would surpass the code, the more green code that Hastings has, what they're doing on those units. And from
Good.
what I've been told, their energy costs are a fraction of what a non-energy efficient unit would be. So that'll be coming, and that's kind of a little snapshot of what we're doing. So,
Hey, Don, a question.
yes.
So when you're talking about the Solarize webinar that you were on with Nina,
Mhm.
and I was on that, I was listening in on that too, as you know.
Right.
Is that, it was very instructive. Do you know if that's been archived someplace and we could put a connection to it on the town website for people? Because it was very clear, very instructive. The people who were on, I think, really learned, including me, about it. Do you happen to know that? Have they done that somehow?
I
Keep
don't.
it so you can get it on demand?
I would assume you can. I'll follow up with that tomorrow, and I'll get back to you on that. I would.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I'm pretty sure I would think they would do that. Yeah, and the people in the town asked some good questions, which how the sign up process is, and it's pretty straightforward. And yeah, so I'll get an answer to that. I'll find out tomorrow if we can do that. And
That'd be good.
yeah, and I think the letter that was sent out, a lot of people read the letter and saw it, and so I think that contributed to the feedback and getting people to actually come on the call. And so.
Yeah, I know down the street that did elicit someone to sign up, but they didn't sign up with that program.
Oh, something else.
They got signed up into another solar program, and he thought he was in this program, but he wasn't. But he was happy. He got a $50 gift card, so he was happy. But it's actually it's going to be more expensive. He's not going to get the same credit on his bill. So
one thing I know that for every resident in the town that signs up for this, the town gets something for this, right? I think
right. She made that clear that night.
It's like I don't
Nina
know,
did
$50 deposit towards something. If you start adding up 100 or 150 people, it'll be a significant something.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it is. So.
Yeah, she did say that. Right.
So.
I mean, from our first solar campaign, we end up getting a solar unit on our town library as a result of that.
Right.
So that's what Don is referring to when there's a stipend that sort of comes back. It's not a cash stipend that comes back to the town. It would be towards the value of some sort of project or something else that would benefit all of the town members, not just those that are involved in the solar program directly.
So it'd be something that could be sort of cashed in at some later point, right? Or used later, I guess.
Yeah, she said it was to be used for these similar type of projects, although it's not. Mm-hmm. It's a 5 kilowatt solar panel on the library, which was because we signed up so many people who put solar on their house.
Right.
This isn't people putting solar on their house. It's people like most of us. Only 20% even are available with all the trees. But it would come back to the town and she did say it seemed to indicate in some sort of cash way that could be spent by the town for a project that would promote energy saving.
Yeah.
Well, you can find that out when you go about that on-demand video.
I will.
Well,
yeah, so that's pretty much, so we got a good group so far, and once we can get back to some kind of normal, which won't be for a while, I trust we're at least going ahead and going to try to create some content and keep trying to do what we can do to.
so there's a lot of.
Do you have any room on your committee to new members?
Sure. Yeah, I think assuming they're going to come and contribute, and yeah, we would welcome
Always, right?
Anybody wants to contribute, absolutely.
And your next meeting's next week.
Yeah, and I actually, just on another note, I get emails from the Department of Energy, just in general, and they sponsor contests to try to have. I think it's unfortunately college, but how to come up with ways to apps or things that they can do to streamline energy efficiency processes. I thought of it because it'd be great to speak to someone in the high school, possibly to see if some
Oh.
interested high school person might want to take a look at this, and because kids are very creative and are sometimes more creative than we can be. I know we've reached out at times with people in the high school. I know it's a separate thing, but it'd be nice to try to connect with them and maybe seed some group of kids who are interested to try
Well,
to.
what about in college? I mean, you need college kids or anything of that nature?
What's that?
People in college, internships, things of that nature to help you
Well,
do this?
this thing, I think actually, like, the contest is, the winner of the contest will get an internship, like at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory or
Yeah.
some of the DOE kind of jobs. So, but
All
it's
this all this remote stuff here is sort of impacting getting volunteers and internships and the like, because people just are not letting people,
I know.
into the communities or into the. But if you can do some of that, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, Don, I would just like to say you're doing a fantastic job there on the committee. I'm glad to see Flo back in the midst of things.
Yes.
Founding member, so I'm always happy to hear you adding people to the committee. And yeah, it looks like you got a pretty busy schedule and coming up, and I'm gonna wish you the best of luck with that. And do come back and give us updates. This is great.
I will. I will be back maybe not next month, but I'll be back to give you the latest.
Okay, we thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
Don.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay. Next up on the agenda is an update from Councilman Sirico on our telecommunication task force.
So, I'd start by saying that we put together a great group of participants. I mean, we've had one meeting, but there's been a lot of interaction, going back and forth. We put together a strategy deck, and a lot of the strategy deck is really input from all our different participants. And there's just been a lot of work going on between myself, Rick, and some of the other, folks around the board here to get some of this off the ground. At the front end of this thing, this is all about. We're really making efforts to try to influence the Altis complaint, and we've written letters in support to help the legislators essentially, focus on their meetings with Altis and Verizon, and that took place last week. And you can go on the website and you can see some of the things that we sent them. Our deck is out there, which is the strategy deck, and you can get a sense of what's going on there. As part of this strategy, though, we're trying to influence and make changes with Altis, and we're doing that, through the regulator. The regulator, the Public Service Commission issued a notice of apparent complaint, and just a few days ago, Altis has responded to that. And so, we're going through that. There's going to be there will be a public hearing, on that basis. But the point is that the complaint centers around, reliability. It's been terrible. The power systems, there's no power to sustain the network in a long period of time. The whole customer service, and everybody here understands that. Every time we try to call them, they don't process that properly. The interoperability with the utility companies, poles go down, they put them back up, and Verizon and Altis wires sit there for weeks.
Well, and Tony,
yes,
Tony, just on that point, I think everybody knows that NICEAG's been going around putting all new poles up. And I was driving back from Danbury and coming up by I think it was by the Stonehouse and all. Literally, there's double the poles.
right.
Because NICEAG has all their poles, and sitting right next to it is the pole that they basically replaced with all of the Altis and other wires on it. So if you
Right.
go up those streets, there's instead of 10 poles, there's 20 poles.
Right.
So that's something that hopefully we can get rid of sooner rather than later.
So there's like two levels of that. One, in their normal work process, NICEAG is hardening their network, based on all the work that you guys have done. But they move their wires and Altice stays and Verizon stays there. They got to go through the process and move them. And then who knows who's going to take down those poles. I know Rick has been vociferous about what are we going to do about getting these poles down. But during the emergency part of this process is when there's an emergency and poles go down because of storms, NYSEG comes in, they did a great job this year, getting things restored and making things safe. But we were getting, just relentless complaints at the townhouse. And I got to congratulate,
Tammy.
yeah, Tammy and Kim and, the office, Rick's office for just handling that. We established an escalation line within Altice. So when we're taking these complaints, we're handing them off and we're following them up. What a tremendous amount of work. We're not in that business.
Right. That's not what we should be doing. Exactly.
Right. And so the complaint is focused on, you guys have to change that process. And, as we found out, as we go through this process, public calls Altice, right? And then they go through this and they're trying to say, hey, look, my service is down, but, they get long calls, they get dropped and so on. And then finally they get something and then they dispatch their repair people, but they dispatch the wrong people. They dispatch a customer service prem guy when they need to put a pole guy and they need something, like a truck to sort of hang a wire. So that's,
Tony, and you're right, because
frustration.
The last time they had that wide outage, and knock on wood, we haven't had one since the school started, where, believe me, if that happens, we're going to get hammered. But, Rick and I are with Mike Kaplowitz looking like idiots out on 35, looking for where the break is that they told us about. And then the next day we find out it's actually in Bedford.
Right.
They don't even know where their breaks are. And this is 10 hours after the original thing started. So you're where Rich and I were with NYSEG 2 years ago. Luckily we were able to make, and I'm sure you did as well.
Have a look how far that's come.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So, because compared to right now, NYSEG looks like the golden child compared to Altice when the power goes out and we have a storm.
Right.
So,
Con Ed's been hammered this time around.
That's right.
But I think why Tony and Bill are involved with this task force really is because of COVID, people being home,
that's right,
and kids going to school. People are running their businesses now out of their houses.
Right, no doubt.
And when you have, it's like, you go to your office and you don't have lights, you don't have power, you can't do your job. So now you're at home, dependent on the internet, it's a utility and it should be treated as such by the Public Service Commission and the FCC. And that's where, hopefully this task force will lead us into how do we put the pressure now on Altice to get.
Well, I'm impressed with what they're already doing. I think
by all means,
you guys are doing a great job already. Just because everybody here knows, just from reading stuff, how hard it is to get in touch with Altice in general. So the fact that you're able to get any headway, we appreciate, and it's going to be an uphill battle.
Sure.
But I think you're doing a great job.
So two things I think the public should understand. One, during that storm, the East storm, we advocated with the Public Service Commission for proactive credits. Our position is they should be giving us proactive credits for outages. They did so for East. That September 4th outage that took place, that took down maybe, 4,000 homes in the town on September 4th.
Mm-hmm.
They're not giving proactive credits. So we posted on the website, our community, if you want a credit, you need to call them. You have 90 days to call them. There's some prerequisite information that you might have to give them, but I urge everybody to call them and ask for the credit. Okay. And, that I think is, something that the public should do and is interested, to do for their own benefit. So, that's what's going on there. And in the medium term, we're we're trying to build partnerships with our surrounding towns. I mean, Rick and I have been on meetings with, North Salem and South, and
Lewisboro.
Lewisboro, and we're talking about, supporting the effort to sort of fortify the complaint that's taking place now at the legislative level in the state. So we're preparing some documents to help, sort of just articulate what I'm saying here and get this in written form and get this up to the state. So that's one thing. Then the medium part of this is to, create more of a strategic plan. So how do we take this thing forward? And the town has partnered with, again, all these other towns with Westchester, and we're building a strategic network plan for, cell towers and the like as we move into the next generation. Now, they've hired somebody to do this. The county is paying for this, but we're all sort of meeting and sort of getting our ideas together, to handle this. And I would also say, we're talking about Altice, but we're also talking about Verizon, and we're also talking about cell phone service. One of the things that the task force has come to understand is that when it comes to restorative power, all these systems, Altice at their central office, they don't have the capability to, generate power to keep their systems running. So that's a complaint. But even these cell towers don't have generators in themselves. So there's one thing we want to talk to, I think, the town board about. I know the planning board, is Chris on this now? No. The planning board is essentially trying to leverage the permit renewal process for the towers. They come and do every 5 years. They want to have structural reviews, and they also want to challenge them to put power at those stations there. So when we have emergencies and events like storms and things go down, there's power at those sites to keep those cell towers operational. So that's something that happens through, we have to advocate that, but we have to work through the various regulators to almost force them to do that. Okay.
Right.
And
So the difference between the utility task force and going to the Public Service Commission with a complaint and testifying at hearings that was a 2.5-year process. The governor intervened in this complaint to the PSC, and he's saying, I want this addressed and resolved in 6 months. So as Tony mentioned, there are upcoming hearings now with Altice regarding where they fell down. Everything that Tony's talking about as far as resiliency minimally powering your nodes when the power's out. Your job is to give internet service. You purchase electricity from NYSEG, but if your supplier fails you, you need a backup. And that's hopefully what the Public Service Commission will act on. But look,
well, speaking as somebody who has a remote learner in here, and usually we have a couple of them, or more than a couple. We kind of rotate houses on the days from home.
yeah, those are down, right?
I dread the day that Optimum goes down. I don't, because I have Verizon, but I know the other houses she goes to, they have Optimum, and that's just going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So the third part of this sort of three-legged strategy is the safety and emergency planning. I mean, we can get, regulators and government tends to respond when you couch things in the terms of you need these for safety reasons and emergency planning. So we're working with our town and, with our highway department, police, fire, okay? And we're trying to put together, we will put together sort of an emergency plan in terms of how we're going to, organize communication. And I thought, Rick, I think they were talking about getting subscribing to an emergency frequency where when we're in that emergency time, that all the different agencies in the town, the municipalities communicate on this, on this frequency. The county is also pursuing an emergency, task force, and they're giving away grants, okay, to upgrade. Now we're talking about radio type systems for police, fire, and the like. And so I've spoken to Surratt, and I've spoken to the chief and the highway department, and there may be opportunities to get grants there. So they're taking a look at that. We can't change all of this. I mean, we're trying to organize what's going on in the towns and the different levels of government, and then trying to organize ourselves to take advantage of all of this as we go forward. And so it's been.
But you're 100% right in your approach, because times have changed. These utility companies, as Rick refers to them, they have not really changed. That infrastructure in America, from the electrical grid to what provides internet, which is an essential service at utility today, it hasn't changed. I don't think that industry is caught up with it, but many of them have, as we've said, virtual monopolies. There's not an incentive for them to do that. But I think what's going on here to mobilize the sentiment that is there in the public, there's no doubt about it, but mobilize that in media, put pressure on through hearings, and there's going to need to be a change in legislation. If you run one of these utilities from a cell service to cable that provides internet, there has to be battery backup at your various towers and intersect points. And I know that in the past, I remember one of the storms way back, that one of the companies said, yeah, we have it. We just didn't, the battery ran out in like 3 hours or something because it hadn't been serviced correctly, nor had it been upgraded. So I think that these are all things we need to solidify the structures in America for these basic services that aren't luxuries, they're necessities. And we don't need to see more of the Kardashians on TV, but we do need to have more of the internet and cell service that really are necessary. Many people don't even have a landline anymore, so that is their phone service. So and there's going to be more of these incidents that used to be once in 100 years, once in 50 years. Now it's like once a year. So yeah, keep up the good work. We're behind you.
I appreciate that. I say, everybody go out to the website. We put the presentation up there. Take a look at it. It's really the strategy presentation. And I'm, welcome your feedback. In this setting, it's a very complex environment of all different types of service providers. And so, the team that's on this, I mean, these guys we have some very talented people. It's going to take a little bit of work, but, in the long run, you want to come up with some sort of legislative and financial incentives to bring other providers into town. Now that sounds like a good thing to do, right? But it's going to take some work. I mean, I've spoken to folks at Verizon, and they said they have no plans of expanding, Fios into our town. But I said to them, we want to meet. I mean, look, we have dense areas of town like Heritage Hills, and you have network on the northern part of that. Would that make sense for you to maybe extend that? Give us an opportunity to talk through some of that. You might not be able to go throughout the entire town, but there are places where, this thing may make financial sense for you. Mm-hmm. But we'll see.
How long did Adams Loop take on the water sewer, right? So it's worth fighting for.
Yeah, and this task force, once again, you've got a job cut out for you, but you're off to a great start. Tony, I went through the deck on the website. I think it's very informative, and it really lays out a roadmap, as you said, for not only the task force, but for the local communities. And ultimately, we get some legislation out of this. And a hardening now of our telecommunications networks. So I want to thank you both for your efforts here.
Yeah, and just to kind of recap some of those things. The deck is very well written. Tony was able to take a whole lot of variety of comments, all good comments. The town runs on volunteers, right, Rick? We rang the bell, they answered. Tony put this together in a very concise, easy read, but very, very informative way. And we're going to press on. And I think the best thing about it is, we want that baseline so that we can say, okay, you guys started here and you guys are in the business of what? You're an ISP. The P is for provider. Okay. Not lack of providing, but provider. So you got, you got some work to do. Once we have that baseline, I think that'll be a very good carrot and a stick. And I think the legislative option and the fact that Albany is involved, and I won't say this very often, but the fact that Albany is involved is going to prove helpful, I believe. And I would advocate for some very stiff punitive penalties when these guys go down for all the reasons stated. So I think we're well underway, and I appreciate Rich and Tommy giving us a blueprint for this. And tenacity is going to be our ally and a powerful tool, and we will leverage it.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. You guys are doing great.
Yeah, here. All right, next up on our agenda, item 5 is to authorize the supervisor to execute the Justice Court Assistance Program grant in the amount, and I'm editing this, in an amount up to $30,000 for the Somers Justice Court per memo from Barbara Lloyd, Court Clerk, dated September 28th. So, Patty, is this something we put on the consensus, or do we want to move on this?
You can put that on the consensus agenda.
Okay, because I don't think it's time sensitive, is it?
You know what? Move it tonight. I'm not sure.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to authorize the supervisor to execute the Justice Court Program grant in the amount not up to $30,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, so moved. Okay, the next item on the agenda is item 6, an amendment to the Business Historic District relative to hours of operation for retail store uses. So this is a discussion that we can have. It came to light that our Business Historic District, which is highly regulated, the Architectural Review Board basically is their, they oversee all the architectural indications there, siding, colors, looks of buildings, building department enforces building codes more stringently or as stringent in the district. And it came to our attention, I think Roland brought to our attention that we did not have any restrictions on the hours of operation for any of the businesses that are in this retail businesses that are in the historic district. So the thought was maybe we want to move in that direction. Roland, you said other municipalities have restrictions?
Yes. Yes, North Castle has restrictions. They limit 24-hour operations in many zones. The historic district in North Castle doesn't have a retail zone, so we've never had to deal with it specifically in that zone. But clearly, the historic district, being your most sensitive district, should have restrictive hours of operation. I'm surprised they're not in there, but I think it's a good proposal.
Okay, so basically, gentlemen, what we're trying to do is get a consensus here. Is this something that we should be taking action on?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think when we discussed it before, I'm fine with it. I'm either way.
Okay.
And somebody just said they would like to make a comment.
Yeah,
Sure.
Donato Satani.
Yes, hi, Donato Satani, 265 Route 202 in Somers. I would just like to make it clear that I'm a business owner, landowner within the business historic district, and I wholeheartedly do not agree with this proposal. Throughout the history of Somers, as far as I could read back, there has been no restrictions. So to say that the historic nature of this zone is being impeded by not having restrictions is just incorrect, because it's never been in the code as far as I could tell. And furthermore, I've just been looking up a couple of things regarding restricting times in these zones. And I happen to come across the Department of State, New York State website actually has a whole legal memorandum on it, and basically says that zoning conditions and restrictions that are aimed at controlling the details or operation of an owner's use of land are outside the municipality's delegated authority. So I just wanted to make that point clear and make sure that's in the meeting minutes, that the Department of State on their own website clearly says that this is not a legal use of local power. As you all know, and I'm sure the reasoning for this is I do have a store that's empty that I've been desperately trying to lease for about 2 years now. So any hampering of the ability to me to lease my store when there's a neighborhood shopping district literally hundreds of feet away from my store that would not be impaired by this, but allows the same uses, would be a clear takings of my rights and my properties. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Roland, any response?
I think it depends upon the reasonableness of the hours that you choose. I don't think you're acting, or you're proposing to act to hamper reasonable hours of operation. What is what is Surratt's proposal? 7 in the morning until what? 6 at night?
7 p.m.
7 to 7. I think
Right.
most people would think that's entirely reasonable for a retail establishment. If there was a particular renter who could not adhere to those hours, they could, of course, appeal to the Zoning Board of Appeals for an area variance. That's always a possibility in all these instances. So if Mr. Centani had a particular tenant and it was one that the town thought was worthwhile and needed additional hours, that could be a consideration for the zoning board.
Okay, so, well, we as a town board obviously do not want to do anything in conflict with Department of State opinions or regulations. But as you said, if those hours between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., once again, this is what's being proposed. But could you walk us through the process then, Roland, what we would be doing? I think there is a consensus here among the board members to take this under consideration. And if we did do so to move forward with this, why don't you walk us through what those?
Sure. I think Surratt has.
Roland, before you start though, Roland, before you start, I would be curious just to know that currently within that district, the stores and establishments that are there, I'd be curious to know what the latest hour I don't believe we have any 24-hour operations there, but I would be curious to know what the latest hours of operation are currently. Is it 7 o'clock right now? Is it 8 o'clock? I'm not just talking for retail, I'm talking for just in general, what we have there.
Well, this would only apply to retail, Tom. This would only apply to retail.
I know, but I want to know what the other hours are for, say, restaurants. How late can the restaurants stay open? Again, I'm not proposing a 24-hour opening. I'm not. It's a
Well, I can-
historic.
So
I can answer
define,
the question. If you-
define
if you
retail.
Look
Define
up the
retail.
4.0 website. I think they're open on to 10 p.m.
All right.
And maybe,
I just want
maybe-
to know.
yeah. Okay. So that's the only
I think that would be the only one that would stay open.
restaurant in the. Oh, and yeah, that's right. That's the only restaurant in
That's the only
the
one.
historic district.
I mean, and I wouldn't, 9 o'clock's not unreasonable either, though, like 7 to 9.
Anyway, I'll look at that on my own and let everybody know. But I'm just curious what time that stays open till.
But you're
'Cause
saying
what
retail.
Anthony was starting to say was, and I agree. I think I know the answer, but I'd like it clarified. Anthony was saying, okay, well, what denotes retail? I guess a restaurant is not retail, even though something like Taste Deli or those other places obviously make food. So I think that's what, Anthony, you were starting to
Yeah.
ask, sort of definition of.
Saret might be better apt to answer than I am, but certainly a stationery store is retail, a gift store is retail, a
Yeah.
restaurant is not. A cleaner's, I don't know, what's a cleaner's? Personal service establishment is, I don't know if that's retail or not.
Okay.
Brett?
Yeah, I think the zoning helps us define what it is, because there are several sections in the BHP district that define, at least generally, what kinds of uses there are. So the uses in, I'm just pulling it up now. Start out with several types of uses, going from, things, cemetery, single family, these are principal permitted categories of uses. And then we get to the kinds we're talking about. Number 10 is medical, dental, veterinary, professional, and business offices is one group of uses. A next separate, number 11, is banks or similar financial institutions. 12 is what is called personal service establishments. And 13 are restaurants, taverns, and ice cream parlors. So when this was created, they separated out all these uses. Then we get to retail. Number 14, which is the one that is being proposed to be amended. Retail stores in any portion of a building. And this particular one does identify within any retail establishment, I'm just looking for it. Where it is, but that's 14 is retail, effective date of provision, including but not limited to thrift, consignment, antique shops, bakeries, and delicatessens. So it names that type as a retail store. So the only category of all of those uses for which a time limit seemed appropriate was for the category of retail stores. So that would apply to things like thrift, consignment, antique, bakeries, and delicatessens type of stores, at least as defined by the zoning.
Is it specific to that, Saret, or is it such as, or similar to, or including? What's the wording there?
Including but not limited to.
Right. Okay.
All right. So, Roland, before I ask you to go
Yeah.
through the procedure, I think we
So-
have, well, wait, Roland, we have Mr. Satani wanted to make another comment.
Yes, thanks. I just wanted to make a further comment that, especially during these extremely unusual times of COVID, number one, store hours are not what they were even months ago. And looking into the future, I wouldn't expect store hours to be, as we start to get back to a sense of normal, what they were in the past, in that, the government's mandates and recommendations all say to limit exposure to other people. And one of the best ways to do that is by opening up stores for longer periods of time to reduce exposure between peoples and reduce close proximity of those peoples in small spaces. And then the other thing I just wanted to say again and reiterate, I haven't heard, again, after I looked in the public record, there has never been restrictions in this zone, in this historic zone. And the reasoning behind this was to protect the historic nature of this zone. But if there was never a restriction back hundreds of years, as far as I could tell, unless you have evidence to provide otherwise, I'm not sure why this is coming up at this day to protect a historic part that protects something that's never been protected before. It just seems very honest attempt to stop me from being able to lease my space. Specifically a retail space when you're not including doctor's offices and or restaurants, which are also in the zone and are right down the street and are causing the same amount of traffic and people attending those places.
Well, and that's where I would come in and just say also that I did look at the hours, and these might be older hours, but 5 days or 4 days of the week, El Forno is open till 10, and obviously Friday and Saturday they're open till 11. So again, just food for thought if we are looking to institute hours.
Who was that, Tom?
They're not,
According to the website, it's open from
Which
11
website?
a.m. What's that?
For what? Which website?
I'm looking
El
at the
Forno.
restaurant. I'm looking at the
Oh,
restaurant.
well, you're not controlling El Forno.
I know I'm not, but Roland, what I'm saying is if we have one place open till 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, then I'm not sure why the other place can stay open till 10 or 11 o'clock. Also, again, I don't agree with the 24 hours. I don't like 24 hours anywhere.
What is the
But,
Chico's open till?
I think 8 o'clock.
Right now,
Yeah.
it's 8.
I think it's 8. They actually used to close early anyway. But again, I'm just throwing out hours there, Roland. I'm not, again, I'm not.
But there's a big difference between restaurant usage and retail usage in terms of traffic, in terms of refuse, in terms of litter. There are a lot of different noise. There are a lot of different issues to consider for a retail use that you don't have to consider for a restaurant use.
What's a deli?
That's a retail use.
Okay, there's a deli there now. But okay, we'll move on. We can move on.
Yeah,
I was just giving you the hours.
right.
Ron, maybe you could walk us. Okay, so look, we're having a discussion.
Right.
Let's find out. I
Well,
believe
if you
this is
if you were going to pursue this, the first step would be to declare your intent to be lead agency and to make the required referrals to both the local planning board and to Westchester County Planning Board. That's what you would need to do tonight. And you could set a public hearing date for 30 days into the future, because your local planning board and your county planning board have to report back to you within that time period. And your intent to be lead agency has a circulation period of 30 days.
Okay.
So can I just ask Don, I mean, beyond, let's say, an 8 or 9 o'clock timeline, what would be prohibitive? Why would that be really prohibitive for a retail outlet?
Well, I don't think it would be. I think what you want to do is, what you're really, I think, striving to do is control the overnight use. So if you thought 8 or 9 o'clock was more appropriate, yes, you could do that.
Well, and I would think.
Is that what's being proposed, an overnight use, though?
No,
Well, I guess right now it doesn't restrict it.
right.
I don't think we have any. Right now.
It's not in our code
Not
at
in
all.
that.
No, I understand, It just
You know,
seems to
we
be a
amended the
reasonable, it seems to be reasonable, but I don't want to be prohibitive either, you know? This seems like a reasonable request to change it,
Do you change it to what though?
7 to or 9.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
But, you know, I don't,
And that's why we have a public hearing on it.
yeah,
Exactly right, Rick. That's right.
So, and, you know, based on that input, we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I would move forward. Again, I agree with 100% with Rick. I would move forward on it. As Roland said, declare ourselves a lead agency and set a public hearing date. You know, as we well know that what we're saying right now could change dramatically after a public hearing. So,
Exactly.
I agree with Rick.
Okay.
Move forward, setting a public hearing.
Okay, so,
Yeah, I think if I hear it correctly, and Roland, you correct me. There's nothing in the code now about this.
Correct.
right, hours of operation, no.
So the question is, if you're going to set it, what's in the public good, so to speak, of Somers, the general public interest in having a time frame in that area of town, and what would be a reasonable time for a historic district for retail space. And I think that's what we're talking about. But whether it be, 6 might, if that's actually it, might be too restrictive, especially in the summer. Things tend to stay open later. But midnight in that area, I think most people would say no, that's too late. 9 o'clock, I think most people would say that is. But I think Tom and Rick are right. We listen to see what people have to say. But that'd be without knowing any of the particular businesses we're talking about or what anyone has in mind, because I have no idea what that is.
Well, it's no secret that there's a proposal for a 7-Eleven,
Oh, okay.
and it's a 24/7 hour operation. I mean, it's a public application.
Okay.
And is that an appropriate, do you want a 24/7 operation in your historic business district? If you do, then fine. But if you think that should be controlled, that's a sensitive district that needs some controls, then yes, maybe it's never been the case before, but now you have an active application and you need to focus on whether or not you should have hours of operation. Mr. Santani is correct. It's never been an issue before. Now it's an issue.
And on that note, Roland, also, what I will say is this is not something that we haven't done before with other issues. I mean, we've regulated hours since I've been on the board, of when trash pickup can be done and when people can cut their lawns and all. So this is not new.
Right.
It's a different use, but we've done things like this in the past because we didn't have it in our code, and
Right.
some of our code is very old. So
we didn't have a place for e-cigarettes. We didn't have a place where that wasn't in the code. When we've changed that so that it can be sold in certain areas or certain times.
Sometimes the board has to react
Times change.
to situations which come before it. And here's one of those situations where you have an active application for something that may not be appropriate in your historic business zone because of its desired hours of operation.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. All right, I'm going to make a motion then to declare the town board the lead agency.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved. Make a further motion to refer the draft legislation to the Somers Planning Board and the Westchester County Planning Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
So moved. And I move to set a public hearing on the legislation for November 12th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right, and on that, on that date, we will hear from the general public on what our proposal would be, and we'll get feedback from planning at the county level and the town level.
Sounds good.
So, any further comments, concerns on this, gentlemen? Mr.
Nope.
Santani, if you're still there, did you have anything else?
No, I appreciate letting me make my public comments. And again, it just, if anything, during these extremely tough times, none of us know, even if not this application, what would come into that empty space, which has been empty for quite a long time now. So to restrict based on a nuisance that hasn't happened, it's beyond me, but thank you for the time.
Okay. Well, just a comment, this town board has been pro-business since I've been on the board. And, we look to assist, not to restrain businesses. But with that said, we also have a charge of protecting our historical districts. We're not only on the state registry, it's on a national business historic registry. So, I think that is the impetus. And as Roland said, it's never come up before, but now it has. So let's give it a public airing and we'll see what develops. So thank you.
For the plan.
All right, number 7, I'm going to remove that from the agenda and move on to number 8. Request permission to purchase one 2020 new terrain King tractor mower with rear debris blower from Winchester Tractor at the cost of $149,814.85 off the Sourcewell or OGS award. This is a preferred bid list per memo dated September 22nd from Nicholas DeVito, Superintendent of Highways. So, I have had a discussion with Nick. It's going to cost X amount of dollars to repair the mower we do have, and that money would be better spent purchasing a new one. So I'll, if anyone.
And that's out of this year's budget, right? This is money that's been appropriated already into the highway department. This is not a new expenditure. What we all know will be a tougher budget going forward. There's no doubt.
Right. Correct. All right. So I'll put that on the consensus agenda.
Okay.
Number 9, request permission to go to bid for 2021 materials for highway department per memo dated September 23rd from Nicholas DeVito, Superintendent of Highways.
Yes.
Of course. So that's a consensus agenda item as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. Moving on, personnel. So we have current vacancies. You've heard from the chairman of our Energy Environment Committee. We value our volunteers. We love when people want to get involved in the community. So please contact my office if you're interested in any of the boards listed here. We have upcoming vacancies on some boards as well, and the board will entertain people who want to volunteer for those. It's with a heavy heart. I want to acknowledge the resignation of Andrew Farber as our library director of the Somers Library effective October 15th. So when Andrew stopped in my office with our masks on, we had a conversation. My negotiating skills, I wish I had Rich Clinchy with me, but I could not negotiate any way, shape, or form to keep Andrew as the director there. What he did point out, this was a career move for him. It's a much larger library system. It's more prestigious. He says, early in my career, this would be a great move for me. And then the shoe dropped. He's getting a 25% increase in salary. So right then and there, I wished him Godspeed. And to his credit, he's going to assist with finding a replacement. And he's available, and as he always has been, to assist with the transition. And I don't, I'm not going to speak for the entire board, but Andrew's been a very professional director down there. He's been put in a tough position, and he's come through it very professionally. And I, for one, will miss him very much, but I wish him the best of luck in his future endeavors.
He's done a wonderful job. He's added a lot of program to the, to that system there, the library. Open to the public. He's run things in the afternoon, educational programs with the kids, and during the summer. So yeah, he'll be missed.
Definitely will be.
Yeah, he certainly has done a very good job. Nobody doesn't like him. He's very approachable, and he has a lot of ideas, and especially in technology, that's why he was selected for that. And he moved a lot of things forward. You're only as good as your staff, of course. I'm sure he would say that. But I just wanted to point out that I feel like we're the farm system for Newcastle or Chappaqua Library. This is the third library director we have lost to who has left for there. So, they do have more money. It's I would also say this, October 15th is going to come real fast.
It is.
And I think it's really, we have to make, of course, the best choice possible. So, I would imagine that an interim director, unless we just hit a pot of gold real soon, but an interim director as the search widens, and, to make sure you have a permanent person that we all can agree is going to be a great addition.
Yeah, so that's what Andrew said he would assist with. He knows some retired library directors that might be willing to, step in on an interim basis, as you mentioned. So we are working in that direction. But mind you, the position of library director is a trustees. They interview and then make a recommendation to the town board. So there is a list, and I believe Kim is called for that list, and we'll be giving it to the library board of trustees to follow up on.
I mean, that list is called for off of civil service? Is that what you're referred to?
Yeah, for library
okay,
director.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
I'll also just point out for the board's information, and maybe you already know this, the library in Chappaqua, Newcastle, that runs off of the school district budget.
Yes, it does.
So when you have a budget that's well over $100 million, it's a lot easier to outpace the rest of the municipalities who are trying to pay their employees off a municipal budget.
Yep, I had heard that as well.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this is the price we pay for being one of the lowest taxed municipalities in Westchester County. We run operations on a shoestring and are very fiscally conservative, and we are like the farm team.
Yeah.
But frankly, I think this board has been doing
their
an
town
awesome
board members get paid more too. So we're all in it
Yeah,
together.
Yeah, I think everybody does get paid more than us.
Wow.
Yeah, I love my volunteers. Okay, moving on. So authorize the hiring of Ms. Christine Gersey as a part-time availability interim clerk for the Somers Building Department on an hourly rate of $16 per memo dated September 3rd from Tom Tuma, Building Inspector, effective September 3rd. So this is in an effort to obviously chip away at our backlogs over there. There's no surprise to anybody that home sales generate title searches, and they come in for COs. 9 times out of 10, a home that's selling may have a deck, a pool, a shed that was done without our knowledge. So it's like that's a lot of work for the building department to try to catch up on. So that's why we're authorizing this part-time person in addition to the other clerical support we're giving the building department to try to get them back, back in shape.
So a PTA has been described to me sort of like a substitute teacher called as need be. Is that what this position is?
Yes. I
Okay.
mean, she's needed right now,
Right.
no more than 17 hours a week, but yes, that's correct, PTA.
As need be, right.
And then we're going to authorize the hiring of Mr. Noel Wannabe as a seasonal laborer.
Watanabe.
Watanabe.
Listen to me. I'm just doing phonetically. Parks and Rec Department at an hourly rate of $15 per memo dated September 15th from Steve Ralston, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, effective September 16th. So, Patty, that can go on the consensus as well, right? Yeah, we already hired him.
So I guess we all approve. Or Steve's going to have a rough conversation tomorrow.
Yes, exactly. Okay,
Noah,
so
come here.
So we're coming up on budget season, and as you may know or may not know, I've asked department heads to be looking at a 10% cutback in contracts and spending in an effort to bridge the gap that we're suffered this year. We've lost probably close to $180,000 in park and rec fees. But if you read our controller's monthly report for this month, he's saying it's not as bad as we thought it might be. But
Keep in mind, we
regardless,
thought it was going to be very bad.
yeah, regardless, right?
So it's still no bed of roses.
Yeah, right.
No, good
It's
God, no.
bad, but not that bad.
Right.
So just going through, it's going to be a tough budget hearing cycle, I believe. Each department head is struggling to meet their service needs, and they're going to have to present their cases to us. Okay, proposed consensus agenda. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay, our next regular town board meeting will be next Thursday, October 8th at 7 p.m. And if I might call upon our town clerk to read us through some announcements.
Okay, it's favorite part of the meeting.
Yes, it is.
It's mine.
So we'll start with the 2020 census. The totals for September 27th, we are at 75.2%, which is an increase from our 2010 response. The county is at 68.5% response, which is also a slight increase from the 2010 responses. New York State is at 63.4%, which is a slight decrease from the 2010%. The overall United States is at a 66.4% response. The census closes Monday, October 5th. So everybody who has not answered their census questionnaire, please do so. You can do that online or by calling the Census Bureau. The Town of Somers Fall Townwide Cleanup is on Saturday, October 17th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So pick up your litter supplies at the townhouse. Westchester County Mobile Shredder is coming to the Town of Somers on Tuesday, October 27th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Reese Park. We're asking that residents stay in their vehicles, and the town personnel will assist removing their shredding and getting them on their way. This is to help social distancing due to COVID-19. And I will do my own little plug here. As many of us are aware that we are having a special election on November 10th for a sewer district vote. So it is November 10th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the townhouse. We will be having a vote. There will be absentee ballots or mail-in ballots available as well. So this is for any owner of a property in the Shenorock-Lincolndale proposed sewer district number 2. Applications are have just hit our website, so they will be available. If you want an application for an absentee ballot, you can either go to the town website or contact my office. I will be making sure that anybody who wants a ballot and cannot come to the polls on the 10th will get that. Anything else you wanted me to add, Rick?
No, well, we put up on the website today as well is a letter from the supervisor's office to every resident in Lincolndale and Shenorock announcing the November 10th referendum vote. There's also a one-page fact sheet that contains facts about the proposals. What phase 1 would be, what happens in other phases. It talks about we contacted the Westchester County Department of Health regarding the use of ETUs. I know that was brought up in discussions with us on a number of occasions, saying these are more affordable and why didn't we go in that direction? And although I mentioned it many times, it was borne out by memos from the Westchester County Department of Health to my office and to actually our town engineers, that in fact, these are not approved for wide-scale use. They are used for remediation, for difficult new construction where conventional septic systems cannot work. So that information is also up there as well. So I would just encourage, once again, this is going to be a mailing. It's going to go out to every resident. This will be their notification. Go to our website. It's full of information. The map planner report, which was revised in March 2020, is on there. These are the facts. And despite everything else that's going on, if you want to know what has been vetted out, what has been in front of the controller's office, what is being sent down to the county for consideration to allow us into the Peekskill sewer plant, it's all there on the website. So that's it for me. Any issues, closing comments, gentlemen?
Nope.
Yeah, we just, you gave us the numbers, Rick, and just a speedy and full recovery for all the COVID folks in town. It hit the high school. It just seems to keep hitting closer and closer to home. Juniors quarantined for another 7 days, and speedy and full recovery to all involved.
Bill, where's the fun fact?
Say again?
Where's the fun fact? What's today in history?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's nothing fun about this one. I'll try to come up with two. I'll try to come up with 2 for next week.
I thought you had a calendar on your desk that you were peeling off every day.
Okay, then. And on a more serious note, I totally agree with you, Bill. Look, this virus is a terrible pandemic. We're not out of the woods. As Bill mentioned, there was a case in the high school. The high school closed for 3 days while they sanitized and did contact tracing. Primrose had a case reported. They did contact tracing there. But I have to say the Somer School District is really, they were well prepared going into this. There's no way you can stop it totally. But they certainly have a plan to remediate and get the kids back in school, which is where they really should be. These kids are being really robbed of socialization, let's put it that way. And Zooming from home, is a stopgap. It can't continue this way. And just in closing, we are flying our flags at half mast for a reason, for all the over 200,000 people in the United States that fell to this virus. So I keep reminding the community, it's serious, it's out there, take precautions. So with that.
And they flu shot. This is the time they're saying to get a flu shot so we don't have two things going on at the same time. And they're free all over the place. I just got one the other day, and doctors are recommending that to people. So I think we should, for anyone who's listening, should emphasize that to them.
Right. So
we want to thank Chris for joining us. For people who may not know who he is, he's on both the planning board and the Energy Environment Committee. So we thank him for his many volunteer hours that he puts in towards the town.
And the telecom task force.
And he's on our task force, right?
The telecom task force, yes.
Telecommunications. Yep.
Holy cow, Chris.
I'm sorry, lines. I just thought maybe, I could shed some light into the telecommunications end from the electric side. So.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, you do that, but don't get off the NICEAG task force.
No, that's fine. I mean,
we're not trading you, Chris.
No, I got it. There's no grooming
here.
No
trade clause, man.
Fighting. None of this infighting. Yeah, no, we do thank you, Chris, for you're our volunteer that we placed on a board for all your good work that you've been doing for the town. So much appreciated.
Find that iPad yet, or are you still investigating?
I'm still looking for your iPad, Councilman.
Thank you.
It's somewhere in the airport system.
We'll get it.
Okay. Any closing comments? Anything else? Okay. Hearing none, I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. And good night, Somers.